Yo guys, Theo here on Common Sense. I decided to start this year's cut and the fast that will initiate this cut a little bit sooner than I had planned. I was going to do it sometime in the second half of April, but I just saw a really good opportunity schedule-wise this week. And I have some other reasons to do it that we'll get into in a bit. And this fast is going to be a little bit special because it's going to be a dry fast, meaning not only will I refrain from eating for a few days, I actually won't be drinking water or even touching water. And people always want to know, like, why would you do that? Don't you die when you do that? And like, why? What's the reason? I understand fasting, but why dry fasting specifically? We'll get into that in a bit. I'll just say that I'm exaggerating a little bit in the title 5-day dry fast. It's going to be a 5-day fast, and around 70%, 3.5 days are supposed to be dry, and we'll get into that. But I want to tell you about the workout that I did before the fast, because I know I'm going to be rolling footage from that, and then we'll get on to the actual why dry fast, how dry fast, and so on. So the way I do fasting, I've experimented a lot with fasting and training and how to schedule it all together, and it is my experience that one of the better ways to go in, you want to go into a fast recovered from training. I've noticed that when I try to kind of smash a workout like the day before, starting a fast on the same day, that's often when I didn't feel my best. Also, it's just a little bit of efficiency that when we train, roughly what the data we have to go off of says that for around 48 hours, protein synthesis is elevated from this workout. So it just seems like a waste to not be eating at least for another day after training before going into the fast. The way I see it, we plant the seed of muscle growth with a workout, and then we water it with nutrition and sleep. And we have around 48 hours to do that. So I kind of changed my schedule accordingly to when I'm doing this fast, when I'm doing it now, because that's what just worked out best with my overall schedule. I'll start it today. It's a Tuesday, and typically I would train upper body on a Monday, but now I swapped it for a full body workout, so I can kind of just hit everything once, take today to recover from it as well, and then go into the fast. So it won't be synced up when I talk about the training and the clips rolling here now. But what I chose for this workout was first leg curls, just 2 sets to hit the hamstrings. I'm pretty happy I've gotten up to stacking this leg curl machine now, so that's some nice progress. Did a double drop set on the second set. Then front squats. It's an exercise I've been approaching with a volume approach. I've been doing a good old 5x5. And so now, since I'm doing lower volume, I just took the last weight I had for a 5x5 and hit as many reps as I could, which were 7. And I was really happy with that. That was quite an exhausting set. So I chose to stop there. For most exercises, I would take 2 sets for a workout like this. But to get some extra quad volume in without like completely exhausting, because it's a centrally taxing exercise, the front squat, right? So I just hit another set of leg extensions. Then to get some lats in, I did a close grip lat pull down that I've been doing for the last couple of months in my program. Hit the personal best actually with 11 reps, 110 kilos. And you can see that the form I've used is I changed to that. I've noticed that when I sat more straight and pulled towards my chest, I hit too much upper back, and leaning back and pulling a bit in front of me like this, not really worrying about going like all the way down. That has hit my lats better. Double drop set on the last set. Then for my one and only chest exercise, I chose an incline barbell press with paused reps, which I haven't been doing for this entire year. I've been doing dumbbells on the incline and a Smith machine. And so this was the one exercise I did 3 sets for, just because I wouldn't be doing anything else for chest. It was pretty cool. I hit a personal best of 8 paused reps with 100 kilos. Always cool when you haven't done the exercise in a while. Of course, I've done exercises that should assist this if I get stronger on them also, and I gained some body weight, but it's still always cool. But then I followed up with a set of 8 at 90 kilos. Clearly, that first set took a lot out of me since I only got 8 on 92, and then I did 80 for another 10 reps, but I didn't film that. Then to hit some more upper back and rear delt, I took a wide grip T-bar row, and I did 2 sets here. I would typically do a drop set on the second set here, but I chose to just do some Kelso shrug kind of things at the end of the second set. Then, to just get in some isolations on top of this, I did a French press, unilateral French press with a cable that I've been doing for the long head of the triceps. Really amazing exercise. I did 2 sets. I just filmed the first one. But on the second set, as you might see, I help out, kind of assisting the concentric with the other hand. And I did that for more reps on the last set as a sort of, mechanical drop set like that. It's a really good one. Man, that's a long head burn when you push those extra reps, assisting the concentric and controlling the negative like that. Went with a preacher curl for biceps, and I've been moving up in the rep range of 8 to 12 reps here, and I hit 12 with 42.5 kilos last time, so I did 1 set with 45, got 9 reps, did another 8 reps, dropped it once to 35, and did 5 more reps. And then the last exercise, just a couple of sets of a good old cable lateral raise to hit some mid-delt. And the last set, I just repped out some partial reps, really make it burn. And now I'm happy and satisfied that I stimulated everything. And we'll be recovering from this going into the fast. And I won't be doing a heavy workout until next week again after the fast. So how I'm preparing for the fast, first of all, the last 2 days here, I've been eating very low carb. I noticed, like, for someone that has lower metabolism and lower, just movement overall, if they want to kind of be closer to ketosis going into a fast, they might have to eat lower carb for a longer time. But I've seen for myself that if I go really low on the carbs for just a couple of days, I'm quite close to ketosis from my experience. I would feel it in a workout at that point that, not necessarily that I can do less, but I will feel it more in the muscle. When you carb up in the muscles, they kind of just feel a bit more immune almost to the burn, and it just burns a whole lot more when you deplete yourself on carbs. But so I had my eggs with a little bit of honey, but no rice in the morning. I just had meat with some mozzarella and an avocado, and then I've been doing my protein yogurts, fatty Greek yogurt with protein powder and some berries, and that's pretty much what I'll be doing today as well. And so the last thing I will do to prepare this evening is first of all, I've been taking a lot of electrolytes, drinking lots of water with salt and an electrolyte mix. And the last thing I will do before quitting drinking and eating altogether this evening is to have some baking soda, so that's sodium bicarbonate. So like a teaspoon, 1.5 teaspoons with a big glass of water, and that will be it. And why you do that going into a dry fast is that this baking soda will, as you dehydrate, your body is going to get more acidic, and we're trying to protect the kidneys from becoming too acidic on a dry fast. That's a last sort of little preparation you want to do there. And of course, when people ask like why and is it dangerous and stuff, it's like, look, first of all, this is not medical advice. I'm not telling you that you should do this and it's completely risk-free. It's obviously a huge stress on the body to do this, but I have experience doing this myself. I've always, I had a good experience and been able to recover. I've seen so many other people do it. So that's one thing, guys. Just because something is the stress on the body here and now doesn't mean that it's just bad necessarily, right? It's like if I would be doing something extreme, just keep dry fasting all the time, keep being in the dehydrated state at all times, even when I'm not fasting. Of course, that's not good. But doing it temporarily like this, it is just like training. If you would train your hard workout like you usually do, but you did it for 10 hours instead of like 75 minutes or something, did the same thing, that would be too much too, right? And that's why we just do a certain amount of workouts before we rest and eat and sleep before we train again, right? So, but why, Look, I'm not the expert on dry fasting. I know all kinds of people have used dry fasting for all kinds of diseases and such, and I won't say too much about like whether that's how possible, how much I believe into that or not, because that's really not my reason to do it, but that's the point. Something like this that is a huge stressor on the body, it can be a huge stressor on something that's kind of wrong in your body as well, So just keep that in mind. But really, if you want to know more about the potentially medical benefits of dry fasting, like I said, this is not medical advice from me. You had to look into it yourself. Honestly, for me, a thing like this is a big part is spiritual. Fasting, there's a reason it's part to some degree of all major religions, right? You do get a spiritual experience from fasting, and even more so dry fasting. You're putting yourself in even more of an exposed position, because really regular good old saltwater fasting, if you have a good amount of fat on your body, it's like you're just eating from the fridge, like I said, instead of from externally, right? Food in the fridge, that's body fat. But I think in this day and age, there's a big struggle with just meaning overall, right? We're super comfortable in many ways. The things that stresses us and kind of poisons us is so completely different than it used to be. It's not very much this with like being, more primitive human out in nature, having to hunt, having to, handle different sorts of tough climates, maybe starvation and such. And so I think my experience with fasting is that it really shifts your perspective a lot, like even if you live in this civilized world, and that if you put yourself through a challenge like this, the contrast when you come back is just like you gain new perspective on everything, and maybe many things you took for granted are now gonna feel like, wow, I'm so grateful for all these things. And there's just a sort of physiological reset that I can't really explain completely scientifically, but there seems to be, just like I know there is with testosterone, that when you do a fast, the testosterone tanks during the fast, but then it goes up above baseline for a bit. It seems to be a sort of hormonal reset, and of course there's a sort of like mental, emotional reset as well. And I just, like, for the last couple of months or so, I've not been doing my best, like I would say mildly depressive state at times, that I often feel better later in the day, but every morning I'm just kind of like heavy. And I think that's both due to just some actual, internal struggles, mentally, spiritually, but also here in Sweden, of course, we have a very long, dark, cold winter, and definitely just like nature has seasons, so do you when you live inside nature, right? So I think there's something to that. And also just this fact that I've been bulking so hard, and I really hate it, that I have a big appetite, I have a big metabolism, so I can eat a lot and enjoy it, but when, actively pushing this weight gain for a long time, I just don't feel great from it. Like when you take in a surplus of energy, it's kind of like, in the summers I eat quite a bit, but I'm not trying to actively gain weight, and I'm also moving a lot, and then you all kind of feel like a furnace. You're just like, wow, running hot from all this energy flowing through you. But when you're taking in more, it just like kind of weighs you down. That's why I think it must suck so much to be a fat person, to be really overweight, but you're kind of just used to that. But the contrast for me, when I've been like leaner and, like I said, maintaining body weight, and suddenly for a long time I'm just like putting on weight, it kind of literally weighs you down. Not just physically, even like emotionally, just the way you feel energy-wise. So that of course, it wouldn't have to be a dry fast to get this effect, but that's a big part of the fast in general. And I just want to challenge myself even more, get even bigger of a contrast by doing a dry fast. It's like, it's a challenge. It's not so much for like, oh, this and this benefits. It's more like, no, I want to challenge myself, so I feel good about myself. I feel proud. I gain some perspective, and then I'm good to go, continuing to cut from this point, right? But so I won't be using nicotine and caffeine on this fast. For those that don't know, I don't smoke. I use these tobacco pouches, snus, that we have in Sweden, right? I'm happy to say that since I did my last fast before the New Year's, I've drastically reduced my consumption. I've kept it to like 25% of my former consumption and kept it steady there. And I reached a new level of on my relationship to these substances. And I've just really learned a lot about addiction, both from my own experiences, but with other people. Like, it's all a whole lot clearer to me now why we struggle to come out of certain addictions and kind of what things have to change. But that's not something I'll go into now, because it's already quite a long video. But it's definitely, I feel like I just level up my understanding of addictions, both what they are and how to go about them. The long story short is that you kind of have to be patient, and you gotta find your whys as to why you're doing it, more than the vague reason that I should. You really gotta see the upside to reducing something, and I really have. So I still don't want to quit them altogether. But we'll see what the experience is during this fast, and what I decide to do when I come back from it, if I will reduce it even more. But I'm sure this will be a challenging part. The last fast was surprisingly easy in this regard, even if I felt something about the withdrawals from the substances. But now, since I've been using less for 3 months, steadily like this. It's probably be easier, but not eating, not drinking, and not doing these, definitely it will be a challenge, you know. Um, but yeah, so what I'll be doing on these days, I do have some work. You know, I have some clients both online and in person, and I have some work I can do, admin kind of work on the computer, right? So obviously I'll have to do that still, but I brief my clients that, you know, if I'm a little slow in my head or something, you know, this is why I'll show up and do my best, you know. But yeah, but other than this, I want it to be introspective and spiritual. You know, I do not want to distract myself and just kind of make time go by. This is another thing we could get into. It depends on where you're at with your process and why you're doing a fast. Sometimes doing whatever you need to in order to get through it is kind of the way to go. But for me, I know I can get through a fast like this, so I kind of don't want to run from whatever things come up internally as I go through this fast. So I will definitely go on walks in nature. Unfortunately, now the sun is starting to actually have an effect on you. Maybe you can see I have a slight start to a tan here. Unfortunately, there seems like there won't be very nice weather during these. The forecast says so right now, at least. But either way, I'll go out in nature, you know, with no earphones, no podcasts, no music. Just kind of be in nature and introspect and feel and think whatever comes up, right? And I'll do some active meditation also. Just, you know, sit or lay down, close my eyes, put my hands together, and kind of observe what comes up, maybe ask myself some specific questions as well. But in the evenings though, when I've like done the work I have to for the day, when I've done this active introspection, you know, the last few hours of the day is also when I'm actually just gonna make time go by in whatever way I can. So, you know, I have a Nintendo Switch I haven't really used much at all. But I recently remembered that I got Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, a good old classic, for it. So maybe in the evenings I'll play a little bit of that, maybe watch a movie, maybe even call a friend or something. But the last few hours, that's when I'll actually just make time go by. And we'll see what sleep is like. It can be a challenge on a fast, even a saltwater fast, but dry fasting especially so, because your cortisol is going to be quite high. I've adapted that I often sleep quite well on saltwater fast, but it's been a while since I did a dry fast now, so we'll just see what that part will be like. But yeah, so it's going to be a personal best of sorts with dry fasting. Like I have done 3-day dry fast many times. Some of them when I deplete extra with a sauna, which I'm not going to do this time during the fast, because it's going to be difficult enough as it is, and I wanted to be able to function. Like when I've done that, that's when I really like rescheduled everything, so I have nothing to do but doing an extreme fast. And now I still have some responsibilities I need to, you know, be available and functional for, right? But it will be a personal best in terms of, I will start today, Tuesday evening, and then I'll start drinking again on Saturday morning or forenoon, whatever, early in on the Saturday, right? And then I'll just, you know, replenish on water and electrolytes as much as possible. You know, I have an electrolyte mix, and then you just want to, often with those, you want to add a bit of sodium chloride, that's regular sea salt, because they're often underdosed on that one in particular, because if it had the, you know, the appropriate dose, it just wouldn't taste all that nice. But so I'll spend the Saturday just drinking a whole lot of water. And also, this is also because now my experience, people always ask about the refeeds on fast, and honestly, with a saltwater fast of a few days, it's just like you don't have to think about it so much. Like the body isn't so fragile. Like it would be such a bad function of the body if it's just like, oh, I haven't eaten for days, now I'm super weak and it's so difficult for me to eat. Like if you do an extreme fast, like a really long dry fast or like a month saltwater fast, of course that would be different. I'm saying when we're talking within a week, and for a dry fast maybe like, you know, 3 days, it's like it's just not that big of a deal. But especially with a dry fast, you probably want to start with like liquids, you know, maybe just some fruit and maybe something like a cucumber to begin with. But now if I start drinking water, I can definitely kind of, you know, on the next day, I can kind of just start eating, right? And I've picked my refeed foods. It's kind of, this is another thing I could make a standalone video on, is that people are so disconnected from their intuition, you know, just have to always logically think about what should I eat when I break the fast. Like the body will tell you, you know, there are certain cravings, but also if you eat mindfully and you listen, like what often happens for me for longer fasts is when I start eating, I will kind of reach a point where it's like, okay, I don't feel like eating more right now. And I'll just leave it for a couple of hours. Then I'll feel quite hungry again. And then I go back to eating. It's kind of like just listen to the body. And you just, the one thing I'll say is if you're someone that's struggling with food addiction and stuff, you need to plan out the foods but then listen to how much you eat. Don't keep eating if you're really starting to feel full. Just give it a while and wait. But so since I was drinking the day before, don't not too worried. I'll start with some pickled foods, pickles, literal pickles, some sauerkraut. I'll have some juice, so I get some carbs and fruit, but in liquid form, some water, of course, and then pickled herring, an extremely Swedish thing. There's a lean protein source that's also pickled. I've naturally started craving this on fast, and I always love it when I break the fast like that. So something like that would be my first meal. And then on this day, I'll be drinking lots of juice. Like what I try to when I refeed after a fast, and specifically when I have the purpose that I'll go on to cut in a while. It's not like I try to keep the fat super low, but I want to get my good dose of protein, something like 200 grams for me. And then mainly carbs. I want to carb up as much as possible, but then get some fat through some healthy sources, like eggs. Of course, but the point is like the majority of the calories really, as much as possible from carbs, and great if it's from juice, because I would, even if I break the dry fast part on the Saturday, I'll start replenishing on liquids, rehydrating to some degree, but you just cannot fully rehydrate without carbs in the mix at all. But then I'm going to be back on schedule. My philosophy now when I do saltwater fasts is I don't really train heavy during a fast because I just don't see the point to it, break the muscle down when I don't get protein to recover. Like train heavy just does not make sense. However, I've started doing it on like the last day of a fast because then I will be breaking it and eating anyway, right? But now it's like the focus on the fast, even if weight loss is going to be a part of it, the focus is this kind of spiritual and challenge thing. And the way I've laid it out now is just going to work really well to be quite replenished after a week and then go back on my regular training schedule on the Monday, right? And then maybe for the first few days, I won't necessarily keep the calories super low, like cutting calories, maybe more around maintenance, because I'll want to get some more carbs in basically. But then a few days in, or like at tops the first week, I'll reduce the calories, go into a calorie deficit, start cutting like that, and then we'll see. I'll probably want to do another fast at some point. But yeah, something else. The last thing, since I talked about training during the fast, I will be not training heavy at all, especially not on the dry fast. But if I feel like it, I might go to a gym and just do some really light, just feel good stuff. Imagine some face pulls, some pullovers, some lateral raises, like all the way like this, some split squats, some light hip hinges, and so on. You just feel good movement to kind of just move the body, get some blood flowing and stuff, but without like taxing it at all, without overloading, stressing the body in that way at all. For entertainment also, just aspect, feel what that's like, but little therapeutical, nice movement like that. I weigh 92 kilos. My average weight in the morning is 92 kilos. Obviously, it's going to be quite low on the Saturday because I have so much less water in me. But we'll just see when and how I'm going to update you. But of course, I'm going to update you about everything, like both that super low weight when I'm dehydrated, but also what it kind of all evened out because the weight loss from a fast, you got to give it a few days of eating before you see the like actual real weight loss, not just a temporary weight loss. So yeah, that is it, guys. So please like and comment. Any questions you have can be inspiration for further videos about this. I do holistic bodybuilding coaching. I've never made someone dry fast, just if someone dry fasted, it was always their idea, and I'm always kind of questioning, should you really, bro? But yeah, becoming that person, jacked and stacked, mentally, physically, spiritually. That's what we do on my program. So if you're interested, you can send me a DM on Instagram or email me. It's in the description below. You can pick up my training book, everything training, mindset, philosophy related you need. In order to become a self-reliant, jacked and stacked individual, there is a section about fasting and training, nothing about dry fasting though, because, it's really an exception. It's not something I think anyone has to do at all. But yeah, please subscribe for more content about fitness, fasting, losing weight, building muscle, Stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys. Sometimes you don't have something you do is not necessarily just a means to an end. Like all these benefits, I'll do this because I want to challenge myself. In a sense, that's going to be a means to an end. Probably nice little boost to everything. Peace.